Then the good people of Benue Northeast Senatorial District, I stand to move.
An information technology age has created new avenues and tools for committing traditional crimes and new forms of crimes. The architecture of the digital world challenges law enforcement institutions and the criminal justice system to devise measures and procedure to contend with digital or cyber crimes. In Nigeria, there had over time been a significant increase in internet-based advance fee fraud. There are cases of hacking into emails, websites, and infringement on privacy rights of persons and institutions, which call for urgent solutions. Legislation on advance fee fraud is among the earliest intervention by the Nigerian government on cybercrime, but the law is inadequate to meet the intricacies of technological developments. The most recent statute on cyber crimes in Nigeria is the Cyber Crimes Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Act 2015. The vaunted objectives of this act include the provision of an effective and unified legal, regulatory, and institutional framework for the prohibitions, preventions, detections, prosecutions, and punishment of cybercrimes in Nigeria. The act is designed to ensure the protection of critical national information infrastructure and to promote cybersecurity, protect computer systems and networks, electronic communications, data and computer programs, intellectual property, and privacy rights. This bill seeks to address all anomalies that has hindered the effective implementation of the Act over the years since enactment of the Cybercrime Prohibition, Prevention, etc. Act 2015. There has not been compliance with the provision of Section 44, 2A of the Act, that the non-compliance may not be unconnected with the ambiguity associated with the wordings of the said subsection, in that the figure 0.005 does not reflect the true intendment of the documents. The true intendment is for the figure to read 0.5%, i.e. 0.5% of all electronic transactions valued by the businesses specified in the second schedule of this act, and does not carry with its percentage sign. Neither has it any provision that will compel compliance or sanctions provisions and defaulting parties in the event of non-compliance. It is with this amendment that the business specified in the second schedule to this act will enable the complying parties credit the funds with that which is the intendment of the document under Section 1 of the Section 44 of this Act. Equally, Mr. President, there has not been any compliance monitoring system in subsection 6A of the Section 44 of the Act. The National Security Advisor will ensure compliance monitoring system in making credit to the fund by the specified businesses in second schedule. Similarly, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, is the slight amendment of the long title by changing cybercrime prohibition to cybersecurity. 1, realigning legislative efforts with the objective of the current National Security Strategy 2019. The national strategy has expressly defined and embedded cybersecurity as one of the major components of a comprehensive national security architecture to help safeguard, protect, defend national economic, political, and security infrastructures, advance national digital well-being, and to deter and react with both defensive and offensive capabilities in cyberspace. 2, realigning with national cybersecurity policy and strategy on Nigeria's cyber threat profile. Over 7 major cyber threats are classified as being inimical to national security and economy. Cybercrime is just one of them, not the main threat. Other dangerous ones classified are cyber terrorism and terrorist use of the internet, child online abuse and exploitation, online gender exploitation, elections interference, cyber espionage, advanced persistent threat, and wide-scale digital economic infrastructures weakness and vulnerabilities, among others. Therefore, the current title of the Act does not reflect the reality of all other major threats using cybersecurity and related matters, as the title of the bill reflects, communicate, and motivate the nation's overall intent comprehensively. Distinguished colleagues, I therefore appeal for your support for the passage of this bill. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this bill has no financial implication and no compendium is attached as required by Order 763 of the Senate Standing Order 2020 as amended. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
Cyber Crime Act 2015. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, we have to bear the witness that issue of cyber crime is a major cancer that is eating deep into our fabrics as of today. This bill seeks to, first of all, to amend that title from cyber crime to cyber security. And this bill seeks to correct that, let me use the word, maybe a mistake from 0.005 to 0.5%. And this bill does not place any burden on the federal government as it concerns finances. Rather, this bill will help to increase the financing as it concerns the issue of compliance, because any system you are doing without compliance, monitoring compliance, doesn't work. This bill seeks to incorporate how to monitor that those parties should be able to remit some of the money to federal government. Also, this bill seeks to expand briefly on the issue of people who are using cyber to do espionage, terrorist acts, and the other vices associated with cyber crime. Recently, most of us have been victims of cyber crime by hacking our phones, by hacking our accounts and other things. Yes, we agree on the use of information technology, but you agree with me that these days, especially the young ones, the use of advanced technology in the information technology has advanced the young ones or encourage them to engage in cybercrime. So I believe that this bill will strengthen the fight against cybercrime. Thank you, and God bless you.
Senator Sani Musa.
Important at this time. ICT is taking over almost everything we do, from artificial intelligence to even domestic affairs today. Because if you go to your homes now, you see even your child that is 6 can take your phone and start playing with it. When we are talking about cyber security, it goes up to that extent. So this bill is coming at the right time. We have to look at ways that we can protect stealing. Stealing is not just breaking into somewhere, but you can just hold your phone or your computer system and do a lot of damage, immeasurable, that can affect even the economic stability of this country. It also disrupts computing systems. Example, like examination. We have JAM that conducts exams. If we don't take care of this security in our cyber space, you'll see that those that do not even qualify to have a certificate will do. And then there is also the situation of ransomware, whereby ransom are being made to be paid through the internet using cryptos. So, and you know crypto is something that you cannot even detect who. You can't detect it. So this is one area I think this bill will come very important. It is there to protect our financial system and also to protect the security infrastructure of this country. You can see today, most of the warfare is done by drones. And drones are being operated by computers. So it is also very sensitive that we look at that, and then we see how we can build computers that are well protected. We can see how our national data will be protected. In most advanced countries, their data goes with their economy. So we are trying to build one here almost every one of us have the national identity number. Our national identity number can be stolen. So we need to also protect that. I think there is no better time to bring this bill than now. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Abdul Fattah.
About this bill is NISDA, Galaxy Backbone, NCC. All these three agencies, you'll be amazed when you are there to see the type of equipment they have in tracking down cybersecurity and cybercrime. But unfortunately, we don't use it. Mr. President, like you rightly said, I chair the Cybercrime Committee in the 8th Senate. The truth of the matter is that effort and then political will to implement some certain things that these people have is what is lacking. Not the title alone, but implementation. Like, for example, when you go to Galaxy Backbone, they have a room where you see what is happening between China, Russia, and America. You can see it every second, every minute. I remember the former minister, Pantami, myself, and the chairman in the House, we went to Korea. There was now attack from everywhere on their cybersecurity system. We asked a question. We said, why is there no any activities on our area? He said, oh, Nigeria, whenever we need anything, we just go there to pick and go. That's the disrespect they have for us, because our own people, we are not using to the maximum. We are not maximizing what we even have within the limit of what we are, within the limit of our capacity, even if it's 5%. And on the issue of the 5%, it is true that it is needed to specify the 5% so that there won't be any ambiguity. Instead of 0.00, the percentage sign is very, very important and is definite. Mr. President, in doing the public hearing, it is very important to invite all these agencies and then to come and show their, showcase their strength so that it can help us to maximize and fight the cyber system in this country. Thank you, Mr. President.
We now hear from the...
So my name is Shoaib Afolabi Salisu. I represent Ogun Central and I also chair the Committee on ICT and Cyber Security. We must thank the 8th Senate for the effort to pass the Cybercrime Act 2015, which this bill seeks to amend. However, the amendments that have been proposed here, they are very nice, they are very good, and I must thank distinguished Senator Bubashe Umar for bringing this up. However, a number of amendments need to be made into that act beyond the 5% and the title. When this bill was passed into an act in 2015, there was no artificial intelligence. There was no generative artificial intelligence. In the last 1 year, artificial intelligence is here, and it has also increased the preponderance of cyber crimes that we had not witnessed before. Therefore, in supporting the amendment of the Act, including but not limited to the 5% as well as the title, we need to look at some of the more fundamental provisions in the Act, and then to also take care of new developments that have since arisen since this law was enacted in 2015. 5% is good. Indeed, even that 5%, I must say, the Senate just came back from a retreat in Uyo, where the focus was on tax and fiscal reforms. And one of the issues we also discussed then was the plethora of taxes that have been applied and the need to streamline some of them. It is in light of this that I think we need to take a more holistic look at the Cybercrime Act of 2015 beyond the issue of 5% and the issue of title. My suggestion, Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, is that this bill should be referred to the appropriate committees for further legislative work, and the appropriate committee, pardon me to start with the Committee on ICT and Cyber Security to guarantee the security of the bill, and to also include the committee which my distinguished brother also chairs, the National Intelligence, as well as other committees, including those who may have things to do with tax, to ensure that we are coming out with a new act that addresses not just the financial inflow from this bill, but bill that also addresses issues that have since come up between 2015 and 2023. And I've just used the example of artificial intelligence as just one. There are a number of other issues that have since come up. I conclude by saying I thank you for this opportunity and also thank my brother for the initiative. But let's work collaboratively together to have a holistic bill that addresses some of the issues that are very confronting us now.
Senator Imasu and Neda
are currently going through cyber attack in our own different ways. Personally, I've had so many persons have my image, my name, abducted, and going about soliciting funds, going about awarding contracts, and demanding money in return. And a lot of people are falling into this scam. Despite all that we have done to disassociate ourselves from these scams, it appears that when you close one down, they open two others accounts with your image and with your name. I believe that if this bill is holistically considered, especially considering the impunity, what will happen to people who are caught committing this crime, the penalty that they will suffer. If we can impede that, if we can address that very well on this bill, perhaps it will go to discourage people from doing it and reduce this scam that is impoverishing our citizens. We know times are hard, and as a result, every little thing that tends to be attractive, they all fall into it. And so I urge our colleagues that this is a bill whose time has come, and that we should all support it and look for a way to also expand it in such a way that...
You have 1 second.
We appreciate this presentation at this point, of the life of this Senate. Developments in the cyber world and the cyber industry is going at fast, neck-breaking speed. Therefore, I do appreciate the position that has been advocated by the chairman of the committee, that we should look into this amendment beyond the prayers being sought by the proposer of this amendment. We should look at this bill comprehensively so that we will take into account current and possibly futuristic developments in the cyber industry. Now, to do this, I refer the chairman of the committee to Rule 81 of the Senate. Is there that any committee to which a bill is committed shall have the power to make such amendments therein as they think fit, provided that every amendment shall be relevant to the subject matter of the bill and the subject matter and the clause to which it relates. But if any amendment shall not be within the title of the bill, they shall amend the title accordingly and shall report the same specifically to the Senate. Which means that the committee, that is his own committee now, had a responsibility to go beyond what this amendment is seeking, to comprehensively look at all other areas that are important so that by the time the bill comes back to the Senate for the third reading, a lot of these new developments and new developments have been taken into account. So I'm saying that the committee has that responsibility and the power under our own rule to take this bill and comprehensively bring it into line with current experiences and current developments. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Amin Iyabas.
His WhatsApp platform hacked. The only recourse he had to remedy the situation was to be calling friends and telling them that don't respond to any monetary request from me. It is not from me. My phone has been hacked. Now, that shows a very serious regulatory failure. Sir, WhatsApp should have a physical office in Nigeria so that when cases like that comes up, the affected individual can quickly rush or send a 24-hour notice to the platform operators to say that my phone has been hacked. But it would interest this House to know that WhatsApp has no office in Nigeria. And more than 70 to 80% of the people who are on the smartphone platforms use WhatsApp. So our regulatory framework should be strengthened in such a way that we monitor the volume of traffic on any platform and compel the operators of the platform to have an office in Nigeria so that whenever there is any problem, the affected individual can reach out to the platforms. Having said that, sir, it is also important for us to realize that we have to be reviewing our laws as often as possible as technology demands. This bill must be made in such a beyond even the monetary component of...
You have 1 second.
Beyond the monetary component of the bill, it should also strengthen our regulatory frameworks. The NCC and other related organs of government must be up and doing. It is not all about money. It is about being serious about our jobs. Thank you for the opportunity.
To national security, not only is it a threat to national security, it's also a threat to democracy. If you look at our last general election, during the last general election, 12.9 million. During the last general election, 12.9 million cyber crime threat was recorded. Not only that, a lot that have been alluded to by colleagues here are some of the threats that cybercrime portend for us in Nigeria. So I want to align myself with my colleague, Senator Shehu, for bringing up this issue for discussion, and of course, to align myself as well with all of the corrections or addition that Senator Salis also brought forward before us. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, issue of cybercrime is something that we must look into, not only look into because of some, but we must look at what is it doing for students in our schools. Yes, as much as AI is bringing a lot in terms of support for their studies, issue of cybercrime is also a challenge for them in being able to face what they are doing in school. Majority of them, instead of them to face what they've gone to the school to do, what they are doing now is Yahoo Yahoo. And this, of course, is a threat not only to Nigeria, but to our economy, not only to just all of us, but to the economy. So it is important, ladies and gentlemen, that we must support this bill brought by Senator Shehu. Thank you, and God bless you.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on the general principle for the amendment of Central Bank of Nigeria Act 2007. This bill was read for the first time in this Hollow Chamber on Tuesday, 10th October 2023. This bill seeks to amend Section 6.1 to 8, 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 5, 12, 1 and 2, 3, then 13, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and paragraph 8 of the first schedule to the Act to strengthen the bank and make provision for the appointment of a chairman of a board, provide for responsibility to quicken and deepen execution of bank's mandate. This bill seeks to address all anomalies that has hindered the advancement of the Apex Bank to handle the ailing economy of our nation. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the thrust of this amendment is to create a people-centered central bank by delivering price and financial system stability and promoting sustainable economic development. As the nation grapples with economic issues, we need to reposition the CBN to grow the economy, regulate the exchange rate, and unauthorized financial transactions and dollarizing the economy. This bill seeks to provide for, among other things, 1, separate the head of management from the head of governing board in line with national and international good corporate governance. 2, establish a proper governance architecture for the monetary authority for optimal policy and operational effectiveness. 3, enshrine real-time control and effective accountability in the conduct of central bank in Nigeria. 4, reposition the CBN towards pursuit and advancement of its core mandates, giving the bank's pivotal role in the economy. And 5, position the CBN as the apolitical entity that will become a worthy example in the national and international monetary policy, banking sector regulation, currency management, and supervision. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, specific ways of achieving the above objectives contained in the amendment being sought is to, 1, establish the position of the chairman of the board of the CBN with cognate qualifications and experience suitable for achieving the renewed objective of the bank. 2, establish an effective and efficient board for the CBN with enhanced independence and neutrality for comprehensive policy and operational oversight. 3, provide an additional position of a deputy governor to achieve due balance in geopolitical representation of all zones comprising Nigeria and robust engagement in administration and policy of the CBN. 4, guarantee internal and parliamentary oversight beside credible accountability to the national and Nigerian people. 5, clearly emphasize the ubiquity of financial reporting and corporate governance as key responsibility of board and management of CBN. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, this bill will ensure that the banking system is repositioned to play its primary role of financial intermediation for the benefit of investment and economic growth in Nigeria. I thank all of you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Just move the motion.
I move that this bill be read the second time.
Senator Kaka, can you make it?
Of the Federation. In my own amendment, I'm proposing that we bring in critical members of the public that will help the CBN in achieving their goal. I'm proposing that we bring in 1, the Auditor General of the Federation, 2, the chairman of FIRS into the board, and lastly, that CIBN, the Chartered Institute of Bankers in Nigeria, which is the regulatory body for bankers, that they be represented in the board of CBN. The second area of amendment in my own bill has to do with the CBN governor and deputy governor participating in politics. Like we had with the last CBN governor. We know the problem he almost caused for the nation. I'm proposing that Section 9 be amended further, that will ban the CBN governor and his deputy from participating in politics when they are in service. The third area of amendment has to do with the meeting of the board and management of CBN. Presently, Section 7 gives the power of CBN governor appointing anybody to act on his behalf when he's absent from such meeting. I mean the management meeting and the board meeting. It gives him the power to just appoint anybody to act on his behalf. I'm proposing that the most senior CBN deputy governor be given the responsibility of acting on behalf of the CBN governor when he's absent. Number 4 has to do with the remuneration of CBN staff. Presently, the CBN board just sits and approve remuneration for themselves, not seeking the advice of the of the wages. There's a wages commission. I'm proposing that the CBN board has to work with the Nigerian Wages Commission to determine salaries and remunerations of the last part has to do with the fact that any business in Nigeria, any domestic business in Nigeria should be denominated in Naira and not foreign currency. That is the last part of my amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I invite senators to make their contributions.
The loopholes that were in the CBN, and additionally, we have to look at, in addition to what he commended, the issue of CBN just dishing out loan to the federal government or government by ways and means, and the process in the previous administration has been abused. That too, we should look at it critically, where up to now we don't know what and why they gave out 23 or 27 trillion without the National Assembly knowing what the money is meant for.
Thank you. Sir.
Respect is being lost in the value of our currency. I want us to emphasize so much on this to the extent that dollar cash should be banned in our trade. The second comment I want to make is on issue of additional board. Looking through all the recommendations, the only one that looks a political impulsion in this is the issue of additional board based on politics. I want us to a little bit insulate ourselves from politics when we are dealing with monetary matter. Today, we have 6 geopolitical zones, which is in itself is not a constitutional thing. Supposing tomorrow we have 10 or 12 geopolitical posts, are we going to increase the number of representation at the deputy director level to 12? I suggest that we should probably leave that one and allow the management of central bank to do it as they wish. Thank you, Mr. President.
Go through most of the acts, and because of the effect of the central bank as a regulating body for all the other banks and banker to the government, we cannot run away from doing the needful to make sure that the Central Bank of Nigeria is in proper position to do its statutory work. The only concern I have is in the area of populating the board. You know, the presenter, Senator Karibi, said the geopolitical zones will be represented. Then, okay, the Darlington. Okay. I think I want to caution us on this political consideration. I think merit should be more important here than where anybody comes from. It is what we can put forward here, which is very, very important, because whatever they do there will affect everybody. So merit should be considered in terms of your past experience and your past contribution. And when they come to the Senate here, I think we should emphasize on that need seriously. So
thank you. Senator Mohamed Adam Alero. Point of order, what?
I don't support the CBN going into other areas other than this. And that is why a lot of things happen. On the issue of ways and means, Mr. President, there is nothing wrong with ways and means. Every government all over the world rely on ways and means. What happened in the last 8 years was that ways and means was done or money was taken by federal government from CBN without recourse to the National Assembly. And this money accumulated to the tune of 23 trillion naira. They should have come to the National Assembly to get permission, but they didn't do that. So it doesn't mean that ways and means is a bad thing. Even in America, they rely on ways and means to stabilize the economy. Secondly, Mr. President, I'm against the idea of including the chairman of Federal Inland Revenue Service as a board member of CBN. I'm equally against the inclusion of the Bankers Committee because it will bring conflict of interest. Maybe when it comes to the third reading, we will expunge those two aspects because they are not in tune with what obtains in other claims of the CBN. Lastly, Mr. President, the issue of remuneration of the Central Bank, I think it is wrong to refer Salaries and Wages Commission to determine the salary of CBN staff. We passed the CBN Act and we made them independent, and we allowed them to determine their own salary in tune with the realities of our economy. So it is wrong to send them to National Wages and Salaries Commission.
Thank you. Thank you. Senator Tambuwal. You all speak. Don't worry.
Support of the two bills as presented by our two distinguished brothers. These bills, in my view, seeks to strengthen the institution of the Central Bank of Nigeria. Lapses and lacuna has been detected in the implementation of the current CBN Act, particularly in its being transparent in its dealings and also in ensuring that it serves its purpose as being the banker of the last resort and the banker of the government of Nigeria. I believe that, Mr. President, what we witnessed during the last transition, where the CBN governor came out unashamedly to be campaigning as an aspirant to the office of the president, was unheard of. And more disappointing, Mr. President, was that authorities of that time didn't even caution him. And he did it without damning any consequences. That was a bastardization of the office of the CBN governor and discretion of that office and bastardization of our institution. This Senate, and indeed this National Assembly, must do everything possible to strengthen our institutions. We need strong institutions in this country. And that's why today we are facing all of the challenges that we're facing in virtually every facet because of lack of presence of strong institutions in this country. So anything that we need to do to strengthen our institutions should be done by us. I therefore support that we pass these bills for second reading and take them for public hearing so that we get more and more of contributions of experts and members of the public on these two bills for passage. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you for keeping to the time. Senator Nwomboy.
Board of the CBN, because as it is today, the law made a provision empowering one man to be the sole administrator of CBN. And that, as a matter of fact, have led us to this economic quagmire we are witnessing today in Nigeria. Having said this, I want to urge all of us to support this bill to succeed, because this is going to be
one of the greatest achievements of the 10th Senate if this bill is given life. I want to urge all our members to give support to it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Sani Musa.
Mr. President, it's a very serious business. So I don't want to, because if we continue to discuss the rot in CBN or how we can get out of it, I don't think 2 minutes is enough for any senator here. But I want first and foremost to appreciate the movers of this motion. In your own wisdom, Mr. President, set up a very strong ad hoc committee that will, the committee that will look into these issues. I know that's the banking committee, but it has to be encompassed. Let us look into how we are going to work assiduously in order to strengthen this issue that is almost eating Nigerians. The businessmen are complaining today. You have today, everybody today is selling on dollars. Nobody is selling naira anymore. You buy dollar, you sell at 100 today, tomorrow it's 110. Tomorrow is 120, next tomorrow. So people are even selling at 150 because they are going to hedge towards 150. And
thank you. You have 1 second.
I don't have my glasses, but I'll try to read. By the indulgence of the Senate and the leave of the Senate President, a senator may make a personal explanation though there may be no question before the Senate, and no controversial matter may be brought forward, nor any debate arise upon the explanation. I want to make personal explanation.
Senator Medoki, I'm sure you were here yesterday, and we gave the last chance of this kind of bringing something that's in breach of our rules. You ought to have brought whatever I want to say to me, all right, you know, informing me, and then even put that into writing, which you didn't do that. So we can't be going against our rules. You are even eating into our time by bringing this forward now when we are debating something very, very important. No, you ought to have brought it. It's the rule. You've read it there. Look at the last paragraph. You see, so, I mean, we can't be going against our rules. So I
debate these two consolidated bills for amendment of the CBN Act. Our distinguished brothers have done great work by bringing aspects of the CBN Act for amendment. I've looked at the lead papers presented here. I want to first of all acknowledge that the CBN is a very important institution in Nigeria. That is the apex bank, and that is a policy bank that we have in this country. Everything about our economy revolves mostly around the activities of the Central Bank of Nigeria. And going by our recent past experience in the events in this institution, you agree with me that most of the rot and decay in our economic system were occasioned by the improper activities of the Central Bank of Nigeria, be it in the area of foreign exchange policies, be it in the areas of regulating economic activities as the CBN is empowered so to do. It is therefore very important that the Central Bank of Nigeria, for an opportune time, should be properly focused on its activities and insulate it from distracting activities we saw they've embarked upon. There was a time it became novel for people to approach the governor of the Central Bank.
You have 1 second remaining.
The Central Bank governor to execute projects for you in your constituency. And he was drawing money from the CBN to build even hostels in the universities. They said it's a Central Bank intervention. So I support this proposed amendments, one in the enlargement of the board of that CBN. We need to bring, apart from the 12
existing board members itemized in the lead paper, we should be able to bring 1 or 2 people that head critical sectors in the economy of Nigeria to sit in that board. Like the chairman of the NASIMA, Chamber of Commerce. Because everything you do there affects commerce and industry. Let the chairman of NASIMA, like the permanent secretary, Federal Minister of Finance.
Thank you. Your time is off.
Record. Let me commend my 2 colleagues for bringing this auspicious bill to the floor of the Senate. Let me say also, Mr. President, that without prejudice to what my colleagues have said, that bill presentation and passage have various stages. And so if we have issues with certain sections in the lead debate now, I think the appropriate time is to wait for the appropriate moment to also be able to ventilate our positions and to articulate the positions that we want included in the bill. Having said that, I want to say that in this country now, you cannot discount the sensibility, the political sensibility of our people. And so asking for the appointment of persons in the board from geopolitical zones doesn't make it, doesn't politicize it. In every political zone now, you can find competent persons and meritable persons that can take positions in the CBN. And so, Mr. President, I want to say at this point that, as others have said, we have today, as I'm talking to you, our Naira is virtually in tatters. The Naira is exchanging in the parallel market for 1,260 or 70. That is not acceptable. And so if there is any way that we can, by legislative intervention, strengthen the machineries of the central bank to act appropriately in their regulatory position or roles, I think we should encourage it. And that is why we should encourage this bill to be read a second time, and I support it to be read a second time, and hopefully, by our intervention, we will provide necessary machinery and platform for the CBN to act appropriately. Thank you, Mr. President.
Effective regulatory functions, we should have an additional deputy governor to take charge of the 5th directorate. And it should be contained in the law that the 5th directorate, the deputy governor that will always be in charge of the 5th directorate, should and must always come from the system, so that in a situation where we have what we have today, the CBN governor today and his deputies are all from outside the system. That deputy governor that will be in charge of the 5th directorate will serve as a guide to the incoming team, because nobody, no matter how capacitated you are, once you find yourself in a new environment, you are not likely to be that much effective without you being guided. And that's why even if one is a professor of political science and he comes into this chamber without being guided, being shown how to do it, and you tell him the simplest thing to do to greet the chair, he may not get it right. So it will be important vis-a-vis or in the context of what we are discussing today to have...
You have 1 second.
Deputy governor of the 5th directorate should and must always come from the system, so that he serves as a guide, light, path, and what have you to the new team like we have today. I so submit.
In making sure that any country, making sure that every country has a central bank that will be in control of its monetary arrangement, monetary policies, monetary arrangements. Because if one is not able to get it right there, then that will be something that will be described as catastrophe. So it's commendable that these 2 bills have been brought before the Senate, and the robust debate that took place really show the passion in the minds of every senator here making sure that all is done to put the Apex Bank in the best position to perform its function in a way that the country's interests, the interests of the country, be well protected. Since on this note, I will call on the clerk of the Senate. Okay, well, let me pose the question first. Those in favor or in support that these two bills should be read the second time, please say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The clerk of the Senate.
To make the central bank more transparent and accountable in its operations, and to ensure enhancement of its functions, and for connected matters thereto, 2023, second reading.
A bill for an act to amend the Central Bank of Nigeria Act and for other related matters thereto, 2023, second reading taken. A bill for an act to amend the Central Bank Establishment Act 2007 to make the Central Bank more transparent and accountable in its operations, and to ensure enhancement of its functions and for connected matters therewith. 2020 second reading taken. The two bills are referred to the Committee on Banking to report back in 2 weeks.
The co-sponsors or sponsors of this bill, about 3 names have been omitted, and that is, I want the clerk to take note of that. Senator Buhari Abdul Fatai, Chairman of Aviation, Senator Sani Mohamed Musa, Senator Shehu Buba Umar. These are also co-sponsors. Having said that, another omission that was made or has been corrected by the Senate leader, and that is the need to upgrade Muhammadu Buhari International Airport, Maiduguri. That has been omitted to internationally operated airport. Mr. President, my distinguished colleagues, the Senate notes the importance of airport infrastructure as a catalyst for economic growth and foreign direct investment, social economic development too. Notes also the urgent need to upgrade the Muhammad Buhari International Airport, Maiduguri, to internationally operated airport in the Northeast with internationally operated equipments like international runways and tarmac. Aware that the 6 geopolitical zones of the country, except Northeast, has internationally operated airport. Southwest has Lagos, Southeast has Enugu, South-South has Port Harcourt, and Northwest has Kano, and lastly, North-Central has Abuja. Also aware that Borno is bordering 3 countries, namely Chad, Cameroon, and Niger. Aware that the presence of an international airport in Maiduguri would enhance efficient and effective movement of goods and people from Nigeria to other parts of the world and reduce excess pressure on the road and infrastructure within the zone. Also aware that the total land area of Maiduguri International Airport as it is can conveniently accommodate a standard international airport. And also notes that hosting an international airport in Maiduguri will propel tourist sector and provide a communication link which is vital between different groups of people involved within the region. Cognizant of the fact that upgrading the Maiduguri International Airport to an international airport will also attract foreign investment, enhance economic development, improve the quality of life of the people of the zone, and ultimately increase the gross domestic product of Nigeria. Lastly, I want to add, distinguished colleagues, that all flights to the Middle East, whether from Lagos, Enugu, Port Harcourt, and Kano or Abuja here, passes over us in Maiduguri. We only hear the noise. So we want the planes to land and at least take some people and continue. In the whole the 5 states, there is no international airport. And let me add also that the runway as it is now, even before, can accommodate any size of aircraft. Because 747, 38, Dreamliner, and all those that are being used by other international airlines can conveniently land in Maiduguri, and that will enhance our economic activities. Therefore, I beg my colleagues to support in resolving that we urge the minister responsible for aviation to immediately begin the process of upgrading the Maiduguri Muhammad Buhari International Airport to internationally operated and also mandate the Committee on Aviation to follow up and report on the progress. Lastly, Mr. President, I told my governor or the state governor about this motion and the need to upgrade our airport. The state government is willing to contribute to upgrading the facilities there in order to make it internationally operated. I believe my colleagues will support this motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.